All right, welcome everyone to our Wednesday movement. I am Zoe Levine here to take us through another little round of stuff that you can do at your desk, movements you can do at your desk to feel good, to continue our habits moving forward. Today we'll add on, we haven't done this since the very beginning. Our move of the week is called Dolphin shoulders, which is a silly one, right? Normally just play with our shoulders for a second. Normally when we're playing with shoulders, you're thinking of up, right? Or down, up and down. And actually, this is a good one while we're here. Sitting up tall, right? If you need a little bolster to sit up on your sits bones, get there. I'll review that another day. But for now, sit up tall on your sits bones and play with this idea of just lifting your shoulders and squeezing them and having a lot of tension, right? Something that we do anyway. And then just letting them drop. So sometimes we don't even notice when we're building tension in our shoulders. So one way to get out of that is just to actually build tension, like overdo it for a second and then let them drop. And sometimes they'll drop a little more easily. Try it a couple more times. Just get really intense and stick them together, right? Not just up but in and drop them down. Last time, not just up but in, you can squish your elbows in, squish your ribs. It's all horribly uncomfortable. Who would want to walk around like that? And relax them down. And take a second and just feel or shake your shoulders and notice that there's a difference when they're dropped down and get to hang out a bit. Next little thing just to notice for your shoulders, pop your ribs up, just front ribs, stick them up, squeeze your shoulders back for a second. Notice there's a lot of tension in your neck. It's not just between your shoulder blades, but can you feel the tension in your neck start to build as you hang out here for a long time? A lot of us are doing this a lot during the day. A small version of it. I'm exaggerating so you can feel neck. It's awful. Drop it down, let it go. Same thing again, just exaggerate, squeeze your shoulders back and pop your ribs up. Exaggerate it. Notice that does not feel lovely for your neck. You'll start to feel, even though you're like, I'm not squeezing my neck, there's a little neck tension that happens there. You feel that a little bit? Drop your shoulders down. Now, instead of letting your ribs pop up, where your shoulders have to do a little squeeze back, could you let your chest drop down just a little bit? Just let your chest drop and see if you can bounce your shoulders and let your shoulder blades hang around your rib cage. Can you kind of feel that? So instead of popping the ribs up and squeezing them back and dealing with the neck, you could drop your ribs down a little bit. Just feel like you could hang. It's like you're draping your shoulder girdle, right? Your collarbones, your shoulder blades. You're just draping them around an upright rib cage. Upright is not popped forward. Upright has some room in the back. Remember the kidneys, the breath into the kidneys that we brought in early on? Good. So that's where your shoulders are going to start. So you can kind of feel them on. Now play this game. Well, I guess we'll do this first, just so we get all the pieces. Remember our snow globe that you love? Press that wide to the side. Play with more of this wide snow globe for a second, just so you feel my shoulder blades can be far away from my spine. You can let your arms, your hands, your wrists do what they want, but play for a moment, just shoulder blades as wide away as possible. If you've been doing your hanging, your shoulder blades know that wide space, right? So that's wide, 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 wide shoulder blades without your ribs popping. Keep them down. And then just squish your shoulder blades in, squish them in. And then practice wide, 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 wide. Play. It's a playful wide without popping your ribs. And let your head and neck do what it needs. Sometimes finding more space. You can find more space with rotations in your arms. And then squish them in. Squish. And then find space. Paint that space wide. And notice, yes, your arms are wide, but your shoulder blades are wide, right? Now with your arms wide, practice squishing your shoulder blades in and widening them out and squishing them in and widening them out. It's okay if your arms need to be a little bit lower, right? If your shoulders get tired, it's okay. Squish in and out. Okay, now you're going to squish in and out or squish in, and then you go up and try to get out and down. These are the dolphins. You do a little dolphin twirl. And then down and in and up. So you slide in and up the elevator. They go wide and down and in and up and wide and down. The rest of your arms can do whatever they need. They could be resting by your side, Or if you need to get them to move outward a little bit to find the circle, your dolphin, feel free to do that. Right? So it's a different way to let your shoulders find that width instead of how we usually find that, right? The most common way to find that shoulders down is to do this. You can do it with me now. That circle forward and up and back and drop down. But look at where that puts you, that pop again, right? So you do that a couple times, just notice it's a great thing to do too, right? The shoulder roll. I just don't encourage you to stay back there. With your dolphins, your little dolphin pearls, you get to kind of find that place to settle and stay, right? And you're looking for width. Aren't we all always looking for width in the shoulders? Right? So if our daily life is a little bit like, I call it Barbie shoulders, when your arms are just kind of stuck in and so if everyday life is a little bit Barbie shoulders, this is just a little dolphin to loosen that up, to hydrate that shoulder girdle, right? So it can be tiny, little tiny ones, it can be big with your arms. Let's take a minute, relax those shoulders. It's a lot of work. You can shake out whatever you need, and we'll review some of the neck hang work that we did a couple weeks ago. Let's start with just ear to shoulder. So you could just hang out here, right? Ear to shoulder. You could, since you're sitting up tall on your sits bones, almost imagine a long, I don't know, pole is a little bit rigid, but the idea of a straight line coming from your sits bones kind of out your neck and lifting up, almost like a little length that you could breathe through on the side of the neck, right? So there's a little support there. And you can do the same as your chin goes down to your chest and you head to the other side, ear to shoulder. See if you can find a comfortable place where you could sit up tall on your sits bones and kind of have this imaginary line from your sits bones through maybe the ceiling, like a rope, gentle, lovely, lovely, breathy ribbon. If rope sounds too much, but like something, a string, a lovely string, kind of that helps to lift the rest of your spine long while your neck gets to fall a little bit to the side, ear towards shoulder. And you get to breathe through this opening in your neck. Could you imagine you have a nose there that's kind of long and tall? You could breathe the rest of the spine long while your head falls. Back to the first side. So same idea, sitting tall through your sits bones, string lifting, find your breath kind of through that opening that we're creating. There's a string toward the ceiling, a long line. And then you can also turn your head toward, like you're looking into a pocket on that side. So instead of just ear to shoulder, you can look down that way. And same thing, instead of just collapsing all the way, there's not a collapse, there's kind of a string pull lift even as your head falls down. You kind of feel the difference. You could try collapse and then try the lengthen. It's like one of those toys with a string. Plenty of breath there. And you can go to the other side. We started ear to shoulder and then we find a comfortable spot, right? Sometimes it's uncomfortable until you hit a nice spot. And then you can look down like you're looking in your pocket. And it's that same string. What if you find the string that's kind of lengthening from your sits bones, pulling you along through your spine, breathing through that place, and also letting your head fall away from it for a moment. And then head comes up, same idea with your chin dropping down toward your chest. So it's not just a complete drop, right? There's a little bit of an imaginary string again, kind of out the base of the skull, floating up as your head falls, and only stay there as long as it feels reasonable and comfortable. So if you get uncomfortable, take breaks, go back to your shoulders or twists, anything that you need. Just know that head fall is there. It's a great way to find some space under the base of the skull where we get all caught up and tight. And come back up. But while we're sitting in here and moving through the shoulders, maybe do one more round of your dolphins as kind of light and easy as you can before we head into a twist. So nice to let the neck ease. Right, so just dolphin shoulders. Right, it's just something different than the collapse back. Looking for width. And then let's try a couple twists just to continue all the lovely work that you've already started. Eyes, head, sitting tall. And here, finding that breath all the way up through the back of your spine. You can imagine that length to the top of your head, through the back of your spine. You could even imagine width in the kidney space, right? That lower rib space in the back. You can imagine width through the shoulders. And then same thing to the other side, head turns. Watch where your ribs are. Let them just drop for a moment. Head, shoulders. Find that turn. So since a lot of you I know love the snow globe so much, you can set up your dolphin shoulders to be just a part of that snow globe experience. Whenever you would normally do your snow globe, you could set up your dolphin shoulders. And your head hang can be a part of that too. Good. To give us a little break from the upper body, let's stand up and do some of our favorites for a rest. And then we'll get back to the shoulders and the ribs a little bit again. All right, with your chair, desk, whatever your favorite bit is for happy hamstrings, you can play with your squat. I would recommend at least something for the stretch of your arms, right? Pulling your arms nice and long and far. Tail is open. You can play with bending your knees if you like, or straightening. But just have a moment. It's kind of like a hang, but you still have your feet on the ground, right? And it's a little bit more about hamstrings, finding that stretch. Just play, wiggle, move. You can play with wide legs, narrow legs. Tail far away from fingertips. Opening your chest a little. Big breath through the length of your side body. Good. And straighten those legs. Come all the way up to standing. Finding a side bend from here. So standing on both feet for a moment, we'll review our standing on one leg in a second. Both arms overhead, drop the ribs, and just take a side bend for a moment. Finding length on that whole side. Then you're going to pick up your side rib and pull it off of your hips for a moment. And up and over to the other side. Pick it up. And take it up and over. Use your breath, inhaling to pick up the ribs even more, grounding down through the pelvis. Good. And come on down. Notice you could do some easy dolphin shoulders and standing. Let your head float. Just to review, what we worked on last week was a couple of simple standing moves. I'll only review one. It's my favorite. The one where you're just standing on one leg, right? The one where you're trying to get that standing leg to do a little work without really, we're not at the gym. It doesn't look fancy, but it's a great way to just get stable in that standing leg. So see if you can lift up one leg off the floor without a lot of leaning and feel like you've got your butt back behind you. You're not squishing it. You're not sitting on it. There's a little space. Your hamstrings are lengthened back and up a little bit. And see if while doing that, like picking up your butt, straightening your leg, you could get a little lift of the other leg. And just want you to notice that you can start to feel work, right? Get that hip underneath you. You feel a little work in the standing leg. Ideally the glutes. Sometimes you'll feel the lower leg a little bit more. You might be able to get the other leg to swing. Some of you might need, it's helpful to be able to be standing on a book or a curb. If you were outside, this could be standing on a curb. You're just letting the other leg swing and dangle. Stay with me. If it starts to burn a little, just stay with me. And then, so this is a little bit more for no one's around, right? You just a little hello, a little stability in the hips and the pelvis, which is everything. If you've been sitting on your butt all day, it's nice to have a little like, hey, I'm still here. That's one of the ways we get deconditioned, is just kind of not using it, right? So just a way to say, hey, I'm not going to sit in here. I'm going to work hard. And then just, you could try a little pitch forward and back up without the other foot on the floor. Just a little pitch forward. The less using your hands, the better, right? You might have to tap on the desk to get your balance here. Your toes might have to tap on the floor. You don't have to go very far, right? This is not about a big stretch. It's just kind of like, hey, are you there? Right? And you don't need to be on the floor to just say, hey, are you there? I haven't used you in a while. Glutes. Are you there? How you feeling? Are you ready for me? Great. And we want the answer to be yes. Yes, I'm here for you. So when you go on your walk for today, I'll be supporting you. It's a lot on one leg. Let's try the other side. So again, this could be, it's so simple. It could be on the phone. It could be a little, it's almost like instead of doodling, I don't know, doodling on the phone when you're listening and paying attention sometimes is another way to pay attention. So moving your body a little bit when that makes sense. It's not going to be always. You really have to get that lift kind of back and up and in and underneath you with your hip, right? Not out to the side, but in and underneath you. And then see if you can find a balance there. See if you can find some work from the standing leg and that standing glute. Just to say hi. And so silly. I realize this one is super silly, but especially if you have space, or you don't have a lot of space, but you have freedom away from other peering eyes, right? This one might be a little bit more doable. If you're in the office with a bunch of people trying to talk on the phone, balancing on one leg, maybe that's too much. Maybe you'll find a place that works for you. And then after we've been standing here for a while, you could try, you don't have to, but to make it harder, you can try that little dip forward and come back up, right? It doesn't take much. Trying to keep the leg mostly long. I'm having to bend on this side to get my balance so you can find you. And little fingertips, right? As you're practicing, if you need a little fingertips on something to find it. But see, I mean, you could be wearing, like a dress, like it doesn't matter. It's one of those simple things that you can kind of just say hi, get into the glutes without a big to-do, without having to be on the floor or squatting heavy weights. It's just a little hello, shake it out. One more time, find your big long stretch. You can side to side it, whatever feels good. You can get into your squat, bend and straighten a few times. Just say hi to those legs. Coming back to your seat, sitting tall. Last two quick things as we finish up, just to feel like we got a bunch of everything. Cross ankle to knee. Sit up as tall as you can. We just worked those glutes a little bit. And again, this isn't, I don't know, I feel like sometimes there's a message out there, just leaning forward, that in order to be worth it, right, a workout, in order to be worth it, has to be all about building muscle. And this is a little different. You're maintaining, it's not just muscle, it's the support that your body needs to function better, to stand with better alignment, to walk better. Switching sides. You can lean forward or just sit tall, wherever the stretch is for you, at ankle to knee, if that's accessible to you. It might not be for everybody. Pitch forward. So still worth it, especially since we're always talking about it's the things that you do most often that matter and that really change the way your body works. So let's say you're not going to the gym and doing a bunch of squats and working your butt all the time. I'm not. So what is the thing that we're doing to maintain, to support? You can still build support and strength. It's not just maintaining. You're starting from scratch. That is also okay. And it's still an amazing way to build on the regular. And so simple. Just stand on one leg and find your butt. All right, that's all we have time for today. So as we say goodbye, maybe do a couple more of your dolphin shoulders, just to remember they're there. Head can easily float on top, so neck feels good as well. Any questions before we say goodbye for today? No, looking great, everyone. Thanks so much for
Thank
joining.
you.
I'll see you next week.
Thanks, Zoe. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.